Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Straight Talk with the Daily Tribune. Today we have a very special guest. We are honored to have the national president of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, and also joining us is Mr. Zaldarriaga, who is the most famous of us here.
Yeah.
We always see him on TV, especially giving us assurance that we will have sufficient power. And Attorney Domingo Cayosa is the national president of the IBP, as I've said earlier, and he's a multi-awarded civic leader and public servant and educator. And Vernon, my colleague, would you like to introduce our other guest?
Yes, also with us is Belle Tiongco, president of International Association of Business Communicators. And she also helms uh, the Football for Humanity, which is a football charity registered in the Philippines and the UK. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
Good morning,
gentlemen.
Comfy. Good morning, friends.
So, questions for the three of you, because Joe is also the past president of the IABC,
Yes.
and he's now the chairman, right? So, this question is for the three
The
of you.
columnist of the day.
And he also writes a column here every Saturday. One of our mostly read columns in the business page. Anyway, so tell us about the collaboration between IABC and IBP. This is very new, and how did it came about?
Well, one of our colleagues in the IABC actually approached the board and recommended the collaboration. That's a correct term, I guess, at this point, no? The collaboration between IBP and IABC, and we thought this is really a significant action for us because this is really making a difference in society. No, if we are able to make this collaboration as powerful and as relevant to our publics, then this pursues our mission of being part of nation building and being of service to our countrymen, because we are communicators, and what better way than to assist, to advise the people who hold the law, and that would be the lawyers represented by the IBP. All lawyers, I understand, are
it's
members of the
required
IBP.
membership.
So if you're not a member, that means you're a fake lawyer. Coming out with fake news. I guess that's it. No, we in these times of where the consumer needs clarity. I think that would be a very significant move for us to actually bring to the fore those people who uphold the law. Yeah.
IABC's mantra, to add to Belle's point, has always been be heard. Not only locally, because we are an international organization, and the Philippines is the first chapter outside of North America or the US that came into being in 1983. And since then, we have advocated communication as a tool to help our audience, our publics, and to give significant contribution to communication. And with the leadership under Attorney Cayosa of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, we see that they are now at the forefront of making sure that legal information is out there for the public. And it is really our privilege to partner with them in bringing this across to the various audiences, particularly for those who would like to know more about their rights under the law.
Well, in the part of IBP, we're very grateful that we have this collaboration with IABC. Why is that? Because in the past, IBP were the sentinels of the rule of law. And in a civilized society, the rule of law is crucial. It cannot be the rule of one person or the other. It cannot be popularity. It cannot be propaganda. So the law equalizes everybody, regardless of your background, your economic status. It's a great equalizer. Unfortunately, so that's our role, not only to litigate and defend, but really to tell our people exactly what is the law, so that if everybody understands it, there'll be less cases in our courts. Many of the cases, many of the disputes, many of the heartaches happen because people don't know the law or others misinterpret it in their favor, others even misrepresent. But IBP, although a very powerful organization, because you cannot practice law in this country unless you're a member of IBP. IBP, all these years, we were integrated 47 years ago. All these years has been working within itself. Just, if we have to do something, we just consult each other and the lawyers are just do it their own way. But when we came in, we realized that IBP has so much goodwill, but the expertise are with others. I believe in partnerships. I believe in synergy. And even the previous board, I was able to convey to them, if we want IBP to be heard and seen so that our people are properly guided, free of politics, free of snubs or disinformation, we have to work with other sectors. And we are very fortunate that IABC, the expert in communicating things, agreed to help us out, because it's not only helping IBP really. If they lend their expertise and network to IBP, to our advocacy to educate our people, then they are in a way helping the Filipino nation. And I think that's very important. And since they are the experts, we are better guided now. And that's why, we can craft our communication, our relationships much better because we get expert advice. That to me is very important. Expertise, partnership, rather than doing it on your own. Because we may be good in argumentation, we may know the law, we may be principled, we may be courageous, sentinels, but if you don't know how to communicate that, then you're not changing anything in society. We're limiting ourselves to our own little sphere as lawyers.
There's the rub, no, Mr. Attorney Cayosa and Miss Belle. Kasi di ba, PR has always been, it has an image problem. It has always been perceived as a spin. So, collaborating with people who believe what you believe, how do you find the common ground? Kasi you're always the bastion for truth, di ba?
Yeah, but to us, the truth and the law is not a matter of opinion. It's a matter of fact. And like under our charter, IBP as an institution must be strictly non-political. Lawyers can have political sides. They can campaign for one or the other, advocate one or the other. But as an institution, so we allow that. That's part of the freedom of association, expression of our members. But as an organization, we deal with facts and what the law is. So to us, we don't have to worry about the spin. Precisely, it's the spin that we want to be clarified, because our people, when you cannot avoid our country listening to all kinds of spin, but there must be an institution that will, when they are asked, Attorney, ano ba yung batas? We have to say it as it is, without any opinion, without any political color.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then to follow up to that question, no, diba, people has perceived the IBP as parang holier than thou, and some sectors are looking at it as a group of liars, lawyers, liars. And then, and then there's the communicators who are also perceived sometimes as propagandists, as mentioned by Vernon. So to follow up that question, no, what's the parameters of this agreement? And again, no, how do you deal with those perception and then promoting facts?
Well, like we respect the ethical standards and the organizational protocols of IABC. We have to treat each other like we treat journalists like you, lawyers like the doctors, the engineers, the communicators. They have their own. Every profession has its professional standards and ethics. Our feeling, my leadership, and those who sit with me in the positions of authority in the IBP believe that there must be mutual respect. We will not impose on one profession our own view. So that's one. So if you approach that, these things, you don't have to worry about, would they spin it to their direction. So that's one. The other one, of course, is, well, from where we sit, you cannot spin the law and the facts. You know,
Correct.
you can
Yeah.
turn it upside down, it will still be the same. And the test for us is this: regardless of who is out there on the other side, we have to state the law and the facts. It's a different thing if you will not state the law or you will state another law because you are considering who's on the other side. So as long as we remain in that sphere, then we're okay. I'm sure every organization has its own mission and objective. Like as Joe has said, you know, AIBC wants to be heard. Coincidentally, IBP 2 years ago, we coined the term IBP, be heard, be seen. Because it's not enough that you're a sentinel of the rule of law in the courts, because that's a very, only about 1% of our people will hear about that. We have to address the 99% of our people to educate them. These are our constitutional principles. This is the law. This is what over the years developed into what we feel is a just process, so that when they're confronted with all kinds of information, they can better appreciate and decide for themselves.
Now that we are having this conversation about PR and legal coming together, is legal PR defining the future of public relations?
Ooh.
Yeah.
With us kasi what we lend is, like I said, expertise, no? What is the best way to say it? The content will always be theirs, right? But maybe our expertise would be, where do you say it? How do you say it? Yeah. What are the new technologies that are available to you? No? So this is really, the content must be IBP, but we're like the form, and how best to reach the people, right? But as you said, no, we are always, as a compliant practitioners, you're always guided by the law, by what is
Yeah.
what is proper to say, what is allowed, right? So I guess we're always just under the confines of what is legal and compliant. I know it's I know it's debatable, right? But as far as this partnership is concerned, right, it is, we know that we can be effective. We know that the message can be attractive. At the same time, it is legal and compliant. Right?
To add to Belle's point, we all know that at the end of the day, it's really the value of communicating what is going to be beneficial to the public.
Yeah.
We are both organizations, both the IBP and the IABC, are what in my own personal terms, I call truth seekers.
Yeah.
They do it through legal means and legal processes. We do it through communications and public relations. You pointed out previously that there may be spin factors involved, but rest assured, there are two types of, in my view, communication professionals. Those that deal with specific to the truth issues, which IABC, I am proud to say, is part of. And perhaps there are a few that resort to what is called spun information. We are, we cannot do that in the sense that we are only a chapter of a bigger mother organization based in the United States. And we, just like the other communication organizations, we're bound by self-regulation. And we cannot go beyond what is in our charter. Just as the KBP has their own internal rules, same with the other organizations in the print media. So we're guided by that principle. The same as far as IBP is concerned, as mentioned better ni Cayosa. Kasi ang importante lang naman sa lahat yung, ano ba yung magiging kapakinabangan nito sa publiko? Pag itong dalawang organisasyon at nagsama, sabi nga ni Belle, you already have content for the IBP. It's understanding the platforms that you will use to make it effectively out there to benefit the public. I think that was, as our president said, that's what really guides us.
You know, one way of addressing your point is this, no? Like, for us lawyers, our professional ethics would tell us that when you take sides, and in all cases there are two sides, you have to promote the side of your side to the best of your ability. Okay, but the commonality is what is the truth and what is the law. So individually, our members, they will take sides and they will spin or argue one way or the other. The same with communicators. You know, individually, it's your job to market a better image for your client or for your product. That's okay. But as institutions, we're not doing this for our client, for my client, or the client of the office of IB. They're not doing. We're doing this for the country. So ang publiko na ang ating kliyente dito between IABC and the IBP is the Filipino nation. So it's public service.
Yeah, it's for the public to understand the law.
Yes, because kahit naman magaling ang IB ko, alam namin ang batas at pare-pareho lang naman yan. If we cannot effectively communicate it to the ordinary Filipino, then when that ordinary Filipino is bombarded with all kinds of spins and propaganda and fake news or harassment, then he might think differently. But if they know and we are able to communicate it much better because we get expert advice, we have the network and the different platforms, then we can reach more people and it's much clearer.
So for Belle and Joe, what's the challenge here? Because lawyers, they deal with complicated information, so they cannot really openly discuss the cases that they're handling, because that would be sub judice. And then you would be communicating the law to the public on their behalf. So what's the challenge there?
Well, one would be uniformity of message, because as attorney said, how many chapters?
We have 89 chapters.
89. So one would be discipline, right? That would be that's very important for everyone to learn. Maybe give some sort of media training and tell them this is what you do, this is what you don't do, and of course working with IBP to craft the message so that it becomes more readable, it becomes more understandable to the public, right? So just sharing with IBP our expertise, ganun lang, so that it becomes better appreciated by the public.
You know, at this point, the reality is this, no? IBBs, we now adopt also technology. We are in Viber groups with our presidents, the 89 presidents. I am in Viber group with my board. So if it is a statement that is officially coming from IBP, we vet it quickly. But the reality is this. We don't even have to argue about what we say, because we all know that's the truth, that's the law. It's just a question, will we say it? How will we say it? Because there might be somebody out there who'll be upset, right? So, at this point, ganun lang yan. Yung bang, we don't have any argument that this is what it is, but should we say it? So, slowly we are overcoming that. And with the help of experts, better communicators, we can say it better, more effectively. So, hindi pa nagpa-play in yun na, what position should we take? Our members will take different positions, but we all agree, this is the law. So, hindi masyadong mahirap desisyonan yan. Though we have our own internal process of vetting out what, if at any, it will be like styling, but you know, any lawyer can have his own styling. So at this point, we don't worry too much about the content, because what we speak is what the law is and what is the fact as borne by documents or data that is available out.
So parang ang role ng dito ng IABC is to laymanize the law so that the
One
public
way,
can
yeah.
easily understand it.
Comfy siguro to put things in perspective. Whether you're a corporation, an NGO, whether you're in government, or whether you're in any profession, what is the common denominator? Usually they have what is termed a corporate communication, a public information, a public affairs, or a public relations office. So the function of these offices is specifically to gather information, sift through the volume of content, find out what content is going to be beneficial to the public, and get it out there through various platforms which you think will be the most effective way to get your message across. Similarly, I think IABC, since we are a group of communicators in various industries, I come from the power sector, Belle came from insurance, and now she's with advocacy. Our chairman emeritus is into FMCG, the San Miguel Group. We have a trustee who is in the water industry. We also have a trustee in telecommunications. So varied yung discipline, and we are able to at least bring that together for a common cause, which is to advocate proper communication and the structures that are involved to make sure that it becomes effective and beneficial. To the point of Attorney Cayosa, ano yung benepisyo sa publiko? At the end of the day, ang atin namang pinaglilingkuran ang publiko. As long as we are guided by that principle that will benefit and what value it will give to the public, then we are guided with that, and we will make sure that we will get that across.
Kaya nga po, in this age of misinformation, the role of legal and PR for that matter cannot be any more relevant. So, what is the actual implication po of fake news sa PR at sa legal? How does fake news do actual harm?
Oh, which is why the organizations in the communication industry have actually pledged, no, to combat fake news in their own organizations, in their own companies. There is really a move to tell the truth, to be as authentic, as possible, and so that's the same principle that we will bring into this partnership, because that is to a certain extent we are pledged to doing that, and that's why we know, the IBP, there is no choice for you, suppose. That's why that's why it is possible. This collaboration is possible.
There is a recent finding that it is apparent people are now slowly going back to traditional news sources. Why? Because of the proliferation of fake information, of fake news. People are now beginning to sift through the murky waters of disinformation and going back to traditional sources. Sabi ko nga kanina when we were before our discussions, in a traditional news organization, there is a very strict vetting process.
Yes.
You have editors who will cross-check what the reporters will write. You have the publisher who will oversee the entire operations. If you have a grievance, for example, you were the one hit in a particular news story, you can always go to the staff box and check who are those involved in the operations and in the editorial content of the paper. Unlike, so meron kang pwedeng puntahan, meron kang pwedeng may attribution, meron kang pwedeng balikan. Unlike in fake news outlets, what is a common denominator? First, it's anonymous. There are no authors. You don't know where it came from except perhaps for an IP address. And the best way also to fight fake news is to do research. Because that will validate the information that you are reading. And all of these traditional news sources, those that have professional journalists, are usually trained by research. So meron na silang amount of discipline involved. That's why you can sift through everything that needs to be cross-checked. Ako yun yung best way to fight. That's why kami sa IABC, we have from time to time a forum called How to Fight Fake News. I think, Belle, we've conducted already 2 or 3. Just so we can get it out there to our members. This is a continuing struggle. Don't get me wrong. The fight continues. But with the partnerships we have with IBP and the other organizations in the country, well, I think at the end of the day, we will win this war. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, because we also know the traditional media also suffer from perception. In fact, I think a week ago I posted a question sa social media. whether which is more credible, the traditional media or the social media. And there was a one response there from a regular masses. So she pointed out that she trusts more those social media than the traditional media, because they believe that those social media platforms are offering them better information than traditional media, which are biased. So I think that we should be on our part. We should be aware of that as well. We should address that, and we should not be sitting on our laurels that we are traditional media. We are holders of the truth. We also have to address that by ourselves, on ourselves now, yung fake news perception.
And fighting fake stories with real ones.
Yeah, and then fake news from the lawyer's point of view. Our lawyers are the sentinels of the rule of law. But rule of law is based on the truth and good law. Not all laws, but good law. Okay, so if it's fake news, it's not true. So dun pa lang, it is our professional and moral and practical duty to help IABC, traditional media, to combat fake news. Now, where is our strength? And this is our counterpart, because we're so happy that they're helping us on the technical, the strategic communication, the platforms, the different approaches to communicate much better. Our counterpart also is like, we're willing to push forward in our Congress those laws that possibly can, help do away or regulate or make accountable those who are spreading false news. Why is that? Because 1/3 of the Senate are lawyers. 1/5 of the House of Representatives are lawyers. And, the legal profession, IBP, inevitably gets invited in many of these hearings. But I think for these kinds of legislation, there are no identified champions, because, there's not much money there, but there's so much public good. So IBP is willing to champion this through Congress, taking inputs from media like you and AIBC, so that before they can, of course, it's good to see the trend that and slowly people are relying more on traditional media, but in the meantime, they can create trouble for our country, misinformation. That's why we are also willing to go to Congress, use our goodwill, our influence, through our members in Congress and our friends, and please, let's put a little priority to this legislation. But we're not in that industry, and that's why it's very crucial for us to talk with you, have dialogue with you, have collaborative arrangements with AIBC.
So is that advocacy to champion the fight against fake news part of IBP's communication goal for this year or the near term or midterm?
Not only a communication goal, it's an organizational goal. As a matter of fact, we created a new unit, which is policy and legislative advocacy. And part of that is combating fake news. Another one is promoting transparency. So we are supporting the Whistleblower Act, because these are many good initiatives, proposals, but they are filed, but then Congress finishes in 3 years and nothing happens. So now we're putting the weight and the network of IBP, and we can communicate this better if we listen and get help from the experts.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's all for the good of the country, really. It will not only affect our profession, your profession, but the whole country.
Has the role of PR shifted from creating content to actually attempting to influence the content created by others with the light of fake news law?
No, I think PR's role should still be to seek the truth, sift through the content, and ensure that what you bring out there is the right information. Because at the end of the day, if you peddle falsehood,
You'll
people
be
will
found out.
see through to it.
You'll be found
They will
out.
eventually find out. It will eventually be vetted,
Yes.
even if it's already out there. So it's best to already get the proper information even before you release it. Actually, Vernon, many of the organizations here in this country, before they even issue a press statement believe you me, it takes several hours to get through the content, sift through it, get the proper information, and then try and find out what best suits the public's need for that information. There is actually no exception because, as I said, if you peddle even part of that statement or what you say in public as untrue, they will see through that. And that is what is actually happening to the various fake news outlets. That is the reason that Facebook, when they vetted this, took this down. Because nakita nila there is really something wrong in terms of the information that is being provided. But for example, a traditional news source that has been out there for the longest time, you are rest assured that the information that comes out there is vetted properly. And that there are responsible people, professional journalists who are really part of that entity.
Definitely, locally, the PRSP is committed. Yeah, what is the name of the movement?
The Manila Mandate.
Yeah, the Manila Mandate, which is no to fake news,
Yes.
right? So, definitely on the local industry, that is the pledge, that is the commitment.
I think those PR practitioners that do spin are propagandists, not the regular PR practitioners.
Could be. We are lucky, no, in our circle. Like Joe said, we believe that sooner or later the truth is, will be found out.
Even the social media itself will vet if it's true or not.
Yeah.
So tama ka nga, eventually, mabubukwa yan eh.
I
Kaya
guess,
nga
Coffee,
tinitake down.
that's part of I think the current generation doesn't know that we undergo this strict vetting process. They only believe that you just you create you look for the angle and you hang on to it, and and so even sacrificing the truth, they think it really is propaganda. No, whether it's a branded communication or something that has come out of 100-year-old organization. They don't believe that, they don't see the importance of the vetting procedure. And I guess we have to, Joe, that's something that we have to tell them. No, the responsibility goes all the way to the president of the organization, and you can actually prosecute if he doesn't tell you the truth.
I think the platform itself kasi makes way for the spread or proliferation of disinformation. For example, you go through your tablet or your mobile phone. It's so easy to share information kahit hindi mo pa na-vet eh. Kasi andun eh.
Share ka lang na share.
Akala mo, nagmamadali ka rin, mukhang tama itong share. Until, before you know it, it spreads like wildfire. Unlike during our time na ang kakampi mo lang library, there was no internet. So you really have to vet through it using books. It may be slower, but it is a sure process. I think at this point in time, eventually, those in the discipline are now able to utilize technology and at the same time vet through the process to be able to come out with the truth in terms of the information. Pero meron pa ring lookout yan kasi nga pag mabilis masyado yung spread ng information, more often than not, meron pa ring naniniwala sa disinformation at saka fake news. But I believe as Belle said and as Attorney Cayosa said, as long as guided tayo that it is really the public benefit that is in our resolve, eventually mas magiging maingat ka moving forward. And we see this already happening. As I mentioned, the mere fact that we are now aware of fake news, that we are now aware of disinformation as being out there is already half the battle won.
Yeah.
It is just a matter of going further through the process and ferreting out the truth. Eventually, I think lalanding naman tayo doon. Panahon lang yan. Kung sakali man meron pa ring mga fake news, iilan-ilan na lang yan.
One issue, Attorney Cayosa, aside from fake news, is the right to privacy. Is there a right to privacy in the digital age?
Well, yeah, I think there is still a right to privacy. But let me just quickly add, because sometimes, the right of privacy is oftentimes claimed by public figures. The reality is under our laws and jurisprudence. When you take on a public function and you agree to be a public officer, whether elected or appointed, you shed part of your privacy. Why is that? Because your position now is a position of public trust. You are a servant of the Filipino people. You receive money from the Filipino people. You exercise power in behalf of the Filipino. And that is why they have more leeway and more right to demand information from you because you are a public official. That is oftentimes forgotten. But if you want your privacy, strict privacy, you remain in the private sector. So that should be inculcated also in the minds of those in power and our people, so that they understand that why media or even IBP would treat the public officials differently from the private people, because conceptually they have more responsibility. We lent them the authority and the power, and therefore they should be accountable. Therefore we should be able to ask them more questions than what we could ask our neighbor, private neighbor. So that's one. The other one, let me just add, we hope that IBP can help IBC, the traditional media, in this vetting process, because it's not only fake news. Now it's fake law. Because our people, if it is mouthed or said or shouted by a powerful person or a popular person, and this is what we will do, this is what we will do, then people unfortunately say, yun ang batas. So some institution must be able to say, pag tinanong, hindi ho, ganito ang batas, ganito ang proseso. So, to my mind, that's also part, in a little way, of the vetting process. Because otherwise, people will just believe, ganun palang batas. And imagine, and it has happened now and even in the past, people or even public servants act on the pronouncements of political leaders. And they think, we're covered, we're protected, because that's what he says, he's the boss. We don't want to quarrel about their priorities, but we have to gently remind people, okay, that's your prerogative because they're the political leaders. You can say those things management-wise, political-wise, but this remains to be the law. We need to do that as part of the vetting process so that our people, everyone else, is reminded at the end of the day, these laws will not change regardless of who says otherwise and how it is said out there. That's the role of IBP.
To follow up on that thought, what's IBP's priorities in the coming year?
One is, as I mentioned earlier, is to alert and prepare our future lawyers to a global platform, because artificial intelligence is there. The legal profession or any industry, any profession is getting globalized. And national borders and human barriers are slowly disappearing. That's one. The other one, which is very much local, and we have been at this for quite a long time. Finally, we put a term to it. We say justice believes, not justice this, because we now recognize as lawyers. I, as president, and I say this openly, and all the judges, the fiscals, the government officials, the politicians who are lawyers, are members, we take full responsibility for the delayed justice in our country. So this is the first time that we're openly admitting we are delayed and we're sorry for that, and we should help each other move it faster, because it is true. Justice delayed is justice denied. When there is delay in justice, in any process, from a management point of view, corruption breeds in, undue influence comes in. Many other consider, except the law and the evidence and the truth will come in. So that's why we owe it to the country to go just, and we will support and advocate for all kinds of reforms. Revolutionary reforms is necessary. Not band-aid rules anymore. We have to change the way we deliver justice, because it's statistically, it's awfully too long. It takes from 3 to 15 years to finish a case. In other countries, they finish it in 6 months, 1 year max. We can do that. But it requires also the cooperation of all lawyers, because there's no singular sector that is at fault. All of us are at fault. And I think before we can solve the problem, there must be an acceptance that we are part of the problem. And we now accept the lawyers of this country are part of that problem. So that's justice beliefs. The third one is more like simplifying the law, humanizing the lawyer. Law is very logical, very fair uh, in its fundamental element, but sometimes processes are made complicated. There's so many technicalities. So at the end of the day, the complications and the technicalities prevail over substantial justice. So we would want to simplify the law, and then lawyers, like we are human beings like anyone else. So we should not pretend that we know everything, but at the same time also we have to take care of our lawyers, the judges, the fiscals, the lawyers who are killed simply because they do the job. We have to be there for them. We have to take care of the lawyers by alerting our future lawyers, the law students. This is the world now. Artificial intelligence is coming in. Let's look at other areas like negotiating skills, mediating skills. We're even looking at promoting alternative dispute resolution because our laws, traditional courts are very slow. So this is very concrete because we are in a way privatizing justice in ADR. So these are very radical directions right now, but so far everyone agrees with us. No one has said we should not do it.
You mentioned that we need revolutionary reform in our justice system. So, what are you proposing exactly?
No, when I say revolutionary, it doesn't mean, by force. You never hear that from a lawyer. But what I'm
Radical.
saying is radical changes. Like, for example, a one-day trial rule, which has been there recommended for a long time, but it hasn't been acted upon. The privatizing the justice system, in a sense. Why? Because ADR, since 1953, our country had the arbitration law, wherein even non-lawyers can act as judges as long as both parties agree. But that has never been popularized. Thereafter, we had an ADR law passed by Congress in 2010. In 2014, the Supreme Court came up with rules on ADR. But guess what? It's not being mainstream. It still is termed as alternative dispute. When in fact, if you look at our history, before the Western civilizations came in, na yung court system, there was so much peace in our country because disputes and these differences were settled at the village. Whoever the parties respect, they go there, they say their piece. He may not be a lawyer, he may be the holiest among them or the oldest or the most popular, it doesn't really matter. Then he says, okay, I think you're right, so let's just make friends. And it worked. Because that's our culture. But we supplanted it with a system from the West which says, if you have differences, don't talk to each other. Get a lawyer, go to a judge, you don't even know the judge. There's no respect. So what happens? In this country, everybody appeals. But if you go to a person, a lawyer or a non-lawyer, both of you respect, you agree. We bring the case there. If he says we respect, no one appeals. There is acceptance. So there is peace, immediate peace in the community. In our case, there is legal justice, but there's no peace, and it takes forever to settle it. We are pushing for that. We're not saying that all cases will be done that way, but we want most of the cases to move that way because that's our culture, and it's very effective because it rewards promptness of decision, it rewards competence. Let the traditional courts handle the more complicated, serious
Pero
ones.
diba it's already being practiced, like sa labor disputes, diba, we have arbitration then. And then sa barangay level, diba, we have yung sangguniang barangay who's supposed to handle mga barangay issues, no?
Yeah.
Petty issues.
But see, like the Katarong Bamba is good law, but they fail to realize those people in the council are elected people. How can you have fair judges if those people who sit are elected every so many years? So they'll always have a political interest. Kung mas malaki yung pamilya mo, they tend to favor you. The other one, you're correct. We have in our country, way back in 1980s, all disputes in construction are with the Construction Arbitration Commission. Look, all construction is booming. They have differences, but nobody complains because they finish it quickly. It works in the construction industry because there is bylaw, panahon pa ni Marcos, na if you have you don't go to the courts, you go to the arbitration commission. Why can we not do that for minor criminal cases, family cases, civil cases, land cases? And even the Supreme Court is moving towards that direction. But that needs also the support of the practitioners like us. And I'm very happy that slowly we are educating, we're training, and there's now traction for really privatizing justice at the local level.
So, can you describe the IBP's current membership?
Well, roster-wise, we have about 75,000 lawyers. But of course, we're not immortal. So about 10,000 of us have died since our integration. So we have about 65,000. Statistically, only 30% of those 65,000 lawyers actually do litigation, going to court and fighting disputes in an adversarial. 70% are what? They're into corporate world, businessmen, such politicians, bureaucrats, diplomats, academia. And that's what IBP, under our term, is reaching out to. Because for the longest time, since we were integrated, of course, ang nagkikita sa korte mga litigation lawyers. So, ang namumuno, yung mga namumuno dyan, yung mga litigation lawyers, kasi election yan kakilala. But then, from a management point of view, when I came in, I said, why are we not reaching out to the 70% of lawyers? So in the past, lawyers should just pay their membership dues and bahala na kayo dyan. So you missed out on the network, the goodwill, and the influence, and the good intentions and knowledge of the 70%. So now we're reaching out to the academe, we're reaching out to the political, diplomatic corps, every aspect of lawyering. And even the law students, we're now reaching out to them. So it has worked beautifully because now more and more people are coming in and saying their things. So now IBP does not only represent the litigation lawyers, but the whole spectrum of the, including Filipinos abroad who are lawyers, no longer members of IBP, but they want to help out our country as Filipino lawyers. And we're reaching out to them. So yun ngayon ang structure ng IBP. We have 89 chapters, but we're requesting the Supreme Court to change our bylaws because it's part of the rules of court. It's part of law to include Filipinos in major cities all over the world. Singapore, perhaps one in Europe, West Coast, East Coast, Canada, so that they can also be organized and participate in the affairs of IBP. So these are the directions we're going to. We are also establishing or even fortifying bridges of friendship and relationship with foreign bar associations, especially those countries where there are many OFWs, because it is now part of our agenda. Kung ito mga bayani ng bayan, bakit hindi natin sila nabibigyan ng special na tulong? But it is very expensive and ineffectual for Filipino lawyers from where we sit to help them in a prompt manner. It's very expensive to send lawyers. Pagdating doon, hindi rin naman nila alam yung pasikot-sikot. So what we do, we go there, arrange with the embassy and then lecture. But beyond that, we make friendships with the Hong Kong Bar Law Society, the Tokyo Federation of Bar Association, Taipei Bar Association, Singapore Law Society. Why is that? Because if their officials are our friends, and we receive a call from an OFW, please help me, I'm in distress, I was arrested. Instead of scrambling a team of lawyers going up, it's very expensive. We called the president. We said, President, this is Domingo of IBP. Oh yeah, Domingo, we have a Filipina there. Can you place her under your free legal aid program? And they'll do that because we are friends. That's what we're doing. We are also opening opportunities for young lawyers to go on exchange programs because we want them to be exposed so that when they come home to their chapters or to their firms, then they will say, this is what we saw outside. And, hopefully we globalize. We have a more global perspective for the young Filipino lawyers.
Do you think this country has enough lawyers, or we need more? Especially now that the AI will eventually eat up some of your services.
Well, pursuant to our view that the most important role and ultimate role of a lawyer is not to do justice, but to bring peace. Then I think we need more lawyers. It's not really winning cases or arguing legal principles. We only do justice so that there'll be peace among the parties. So even if you win in court, but the parties, there is no settlement because nobody believes the system or it's so much delayed, then we don't do our job. So kung yun ang batayan, sa tingin ko, meron pang puwang para sa mga good Filipino lawyers. I'll give you an example. I was seated right next to the Iranian president of the Iran Bar Association. In Iran, so of course we always ask, how many lawyers do you have? So I said, in the Philippines we have about 65 because 75 versus 65. Your population 110. I said, in Iran, this is Iran. It was a surprise to me. They have 74,000 Iranian lawyers, but only 75,000 million Iranians. So mas mataas sila doon. But of course, ang traditional, lawyers only complicate. But the good Filipino lawyer will not complicate. We help simplify so that there's more peace and less work for us.
Well said. That aside, let's veer into Miss Belle Tiongco's other hat. You're actually at the helm of Football for Humanity.
Yeah.
Can you elucidate more on that?
In my previous role, no, I was into CSR. One of that would be football, sports. And then when I retired, I continued. And this is I run a football foundation. And this is under the belief that sports is transformative. Yeah. And it's in a nation where half of us are young. Maybe that's even more relevant because you can also see that in our system, especially in our educational system, you don't see a lot of sports. Meaning we're very, well, in my experience at least, in my educational, my experience growing up, from elementary to high school, sports is really just a something that you need to do because there's PE, but comparing it as I am able to travel and see the other sports programs, it really is a very vital part of the educational system. And we know the benefits of physical fitness, we know the benefits of training, the discipline that comes into sports, and that should not be the area of a few alone. It should be made
Mainstream.
It should be made available to all Filipinos, and that's why in my advocacy we actually focus on the underprivileged, because we have observed many have nothing. No
Why-
program, no facilities.
Why did you choose football over
Why
other sports?
football? I'll be very biased here. Although I grew up with NBA, I'm a baby boomer, in the 70s. As I studied football and I had fallen in love with it in the 80s and the 90s, I believe that it's physically, genetically, we as Filipinos can compete in football. The sport it's an, how do you call it, invasion sport, parang basketball, di ba? You score when you
The other side,
you put a goal on the other side. I think football, which doesn't require height, you don't have to be 7 feet giants to play football. Actually, the nearer you are to the ground, the better your balance. So, we are agile. We have good judgment. We can run quickly. We're strong. I think football is something that Filipinos can play very well. And
Instead of basketball.
I don't want to say it, but yeah, I think we know that there's a lot of Filipinos out there, half Filipinos in Europe who play professional football.
So, one last question. What's your long-term goal for this
Long-term goal
advocacy?
is really make to spread the sport, not just because of popularity, but we want to transform communities. It was Nelson Mandela himself who said, "Sport can transform the world." And then you've seen the example of North Korea and South Korea becoming one Korea, competing in the Winter Olympics, right? Sport is an arena where I think we are the best human beings we can be. We follow rules, we respect our opponents. And so I think, especially teaching that to our youth, I'd like the Filipino youth to have the same opportunity and benefits and really get the most out of sports, becoming better Filipinos and better individuals because of sport.
How is your experience in the Philippines in terms of the support you're getting?
bad experience. Very bad experience. You can look around. Where is the infrastructure? Yeah, where is the priority for building the infrastructure for the common Filipino? No, if you go to, especially to the hinterlands, sport is a multi-purpose area, which is a covered area. That's it. And in many cases, if you go to that covered area, it's occupied by cars. There is no sport activity going on. So where is the priority? You look at the sports programs. Where is the program? Is it a real authentic sports program that is meant to promote physical fitness as well as the discipline of sport? No, so we need to really take a good look at what we have, because the support is very lacking from all sectors of society.
We have run out of time.
Yeah.
Actually, this is a very interesting topic. So actually, I wanted to explore more on the AI about and the fake news. So I think we will asking you again. We'll be asking you again to visit us soon, so we can discuss on those topics. And then any parting words about your partnership and collaboration.
We're very honored, no, that we are in this collaboration with the IBP. I think it's time. It's time to teach, okay, the public, especially in these days of fake news, no, fake everything, and especially in this time when we have a big population of youth that need to be enlightened, no? Not just out of fake news, but respect for the law. I think a lot of our problems as a country can be solved if the citizens respect and understand the law, and we're very honored to be part of that, okay? To be part of that mission.
And from the perspective of IBP, we're very thankful and very privileged to have this collaborative arrangement with IABC. Not only a local group, but they belong to a bigger international, which jives with our view of the global Filipino lawyer. We need to know. The other one, of course, is with their help, the little that we can do to explain to our people exactly what are the laws, what are our traditions and protocols and freedoms and rights and also responsibilities. The little that IBP can do, we as lawyers, will go a long way because it's properly communicated to our 110 million Filipinos out there. We hope that we will continue with this, and we hope that at the end of the day, whatever we do, IABC and IBP, our country will benefit.
Yeah.
I think to add to what Belle said, I am sure that one of the dreams of IABC Philippines is to see the Filipino communicator compete not only in local shores but to go out there globally, become a global practitioner, mix it up with the rest of the communicators in the world. We have a program for that, which is the Gold Quill, where we are able to establish, are we at par already with our foreign counterparts? And at the same time, we'd like to continue advocating communication excellence for the leaders of this country, whether in the academe, in government, or in the private sector. That's why we have the CEO Excel Awards. And we will continue with our forum series, the last of which was, as I've mentioned, we will continue to be heard, we will continue to fight fake news, and we will continue to bring the truth out there. And with our partnership with the Integrated Bar of the Philippines under the able leadership of Attorney Cayosa, we are very confident that we will eventually get there. It is just really a matter of time.
Thank you very much.